Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay, a podcast focusing on meditation, the near-death experience, and all things spiritual. Hello, this is Jay Spillers with Inspire Me with Jay. My special guest is Emma Underwood. Emma, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. So, what is
Good.
your background in meditation?
Okay, well, that's a very long story, really. But in brief, it began in 2008, and I guess I had sort of quite a normal life. I had in England, I worked for civil service, and I had a relationship and children, and yeah, I just sort of had this kind of really unusual feeling that I couldn't describe at the time. I guess it was sort of like a calling, I think. But when you don't know what that is, when you feel really unfulfilled in your life, it's sort of hard to kind of rationalize it. But for one thing or another, my relationship unfortunately was breaking down, and I wasn't very happy in my job, even though it was a good job and I was doing quite well in it. And I had an opportunity to go to Thailand. My dad was living there at the time, so I took a bit of a break, I guess you'd say, and I wasn't expecting it. I didn't really have much understanding of meditation at the time. I knew what it was. But whilst I was out there, I started reading a book called The Lotus Always Blooms, and it's written by a Christian lady. I forget her name. I could probably find that out. And it was her story of how she had a relationship with the Buddhist monks in Thailand, and how it was like a Western's take on the Eastern philosophies. And she introduced a lot of concepts and ideas of things that people could do to bring Buddhism into their sort of daily Western lives. And it was a really good read. So I made a list of things that I was going to do when I came home, because I was profoundly moved by Thailand and Buddhism. And it was the first time I'd come face to face with an opportunity to sort of get involved, as in going to temples and just spending time being blessed. And it's such a different culture, it's such a different way of life. It was really overwhelming, and obviously at the time I was going through a massive life change, which I didn't kind of have a perspective on at the time. So I wrote a list of things I was going to do when I came home, and one of them was join a meditation group. And at the time, it was, you really had to go along to sort of like Buddhist centres. I lived near Nottingham city centre, so I went along to the Buddhist centre in Nottingham and began a journey of meditation there. And I also joined in with an organisation called the Brahma Kumaris that teach Raja Yoga meditation, and that sort of touches more on the Hindu religions, based on the concept that you focus on people's soul in their third eye. And that's a meditation that was taught to me at the time. And I guess looking back, that was the beginning, really. And I think with meditation, or with anything that kind of changes your outlook and your inner vision, I think once you've gone down that rabbit hole, it's hard to come back. And that was when my life began to change. So I started doing more volunteer work. I changed my job role into more of the care industry. And obviously it was over a period of quite a long time that it all began to manifest. I took a Reiki course. I got into crystals, massage therapy, and more recently I've been doing tuning forks, sound therapy, crystals, singing bowls, and I did quite a big course in hypnotherapy and psychotherapy. And I sort of realized that everything is connected, obviously, even on a sort of cosmic sense, quantum science sense. And it just sort of has accumulated to this moment that I'm in now. I decided that I would take a course to learn about teaching meditation, which really I think is more sharing, because I think that meditation is unique for everybody. It's a gift, and it's a very personal, individual journey. It's never going to be the same for everybody, and that's what makes it so amazing, because we've got a unique code to unlock that nobody can really unlock other than yourself. So I just felt really inspired over the last 6 months to share that, which was why I decided to use my platform to encourage people who perhaps have never meditated before or don't really understand. Because I've got a lot of other really inspirational people that I follow. There's an astrology lady called Pam Gregory, and she always talks about activating the heart and heart meditation and light meditation, letting the light in. And she introduced me to the Heart Math Institute, that do a lot of research into the science benefits of meditating from the heart. And over the years, people like John Vlo-Melchizedek and Meg Benedicte, I've followed them for a very long time, and I just absolutely love what they do. And I just thought, I'm going to get involved and start sharing and talking about it. And I mean, I meditate all the time anyway. In my own personal meditation, I use a medicine wheel that I've created myself from stones and things that I've gathered, and that can be different in many different cultures. I've kind of just taken the idea and used it in my own way, working with earth, wind, fire and water, and using affirmations. It's a very personal practice that I do. It takes about 40 minutes and I love it. And then obviously the heart activation meditation is brilliant for a lot of physical benefits, as well as just spiritual and emotional and energy benefits. And then I've started doing sharing meditation circles face to face with people who, you know, and that can be all different types, different topics. So I'm literally full up to here in a really good way. And I think when you begin to sort of explore the world of social media, as in with me sort of seeing the work that you do, and getting, you know, networking from that respect, it's amazing. It just, you sort of have opened a new little window into sharing and learning. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of what's brought me here, really. So thank you for that opportunity.
Oh, sure. So do you think a lot of the meditation, even though there's differences, it seems like there's a lot of commonality in different forms of meditation? They might just have different nuances and emphasis.
Do you know what I'm really drawn to at the moment? And it sounds so simple, and I always go on about it, and sometimes people are just, you know, it's the breath. I think it's breathing, and it's, so we all know physical science, we all know about the stress response, we all know about having or learning to sort of calm ourselves down. But I truly believe that from another scientific perspective, when we're breathing and when we're sort of becoming more aware with intent, we are doing something to ourselves and our energy bodies, and the light work aspect of it really comes in. And that's why, because my knowledge of science unfortunately isn't that great. However, I do, as I say, I do follow a lot of people who really know what they're talking about, and there's so many more studies going on at the moment to do with photons, plasma energy, and how it affects us, and also how when we start gaining control of our energy field, which obviously it's all connected, your physical body, your mental body, and your energy body. When we start gaining back control, we have the ability to create and manipulate the photons and the plasma in a really productive way that benefits us. And that's one topic that Pam Gregory, who I mentioned earlier, talks about. And I just find that really inspirational. And I think it begins in that sacred space of the heart. Once we are able to regain that calm and that center and start the nourishment from that space, it changes our dynamic. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Drunvalo Melchizedek, I don't know if you're familiar with that name. One of the books I've got of his, he talks about when from an embryo, the sacred geometry, the first cells that are born are from the heart and the tongue. So there is a particular meditation that you can do where you're activating this sacred space, which is the first sort of energy center that's created when you're conceived. And from within this sacred space, you have the ability to gain back absolute control of your energy field. So now we're going into the sort of Metatron's cube area, sacred geometry of the human body and of the earth, and of the sort of flower of life type stuff. So it's fascinating to me because I think that more people are talking about things like this now, and it's becoming more, not sort of real, because obviously I've always believed in it. I think it's becoming more proven, and it's becoming more science-based, which a lot of people need to hear before they're willing to sort of embrace it and practice it. And I definitely think this year, 2022, as it really is, you can just see the consciousness rising and adapting and opening, and it's brilliant. It really is so nice, because as I say, back in 2008, when I was having all of these emotions and feelings, but I couldn't really pinpoint what it was, and I didn't really have anybody to ask or to talk about, because back then, you could Google something, you might come across a sort of random forum, but social media wasn't really as out there as it is now. So I was spending a lot of time in libraries and doing a lot of research that way, whereas now there's people that you can share the information with and talk to, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, definitely the one thing that I really promote is just breathing, like really sort of getting control of your breathing. And if you're in a situation that perhaps is challenging or stressful, just breathing through it. We can't avoid negative situations, we can't avoid challenges, but when we accept, surrender and trust, it does something to you emotionally and energetically, and you sort of we have to kind of allow processes that perhaps are a bit more uncomfortable to sort of flow through us, and by breathing, that's a really sort of natural way to heal and go through emotions. So that's my main thing, I think, with meditation is people are focusing more on their breath, aren't they, and reconnecting with that aspect of their energy.
So like with breathing, what kind of breathing technique do you usually do?
Well, with the heart activation, because obviously that is designed for people who perhaps are new to meditating, and also even when I do like my meditation circles, there are more specific techniques that we can go into. But I think a really lovely place to start is just by slowing it down and bringing that awareness from the mind to the heart. So in the heart activation meditation, and one thing I've discovered is, because for me, and I guess because I've been doing it for such a long time, I forget that perhaps people who are a bit more analytical minded, especially when they're following a guided meditation. So, for example, I will say in the meditation to concentrate on the sensation of the breath passing through the heart. I've had some people say, "Oh, I find that really difficult because they're not very visual. They don't respond to like visual instructions or imagination," which, you know, is fine, because everybody is set up differently in regards to that. So it's just it's kind of getting people out of their minds to begin to learn about being aware of sensations. And I think meditation generally is about whether it, you know, whatever it is that you're meditating on, it's kind of taking that part of yourself out of your overthinking mind and focusing on something else. So with the breath, focusing on the heart, what you're doing is, without realizing, you're shifting something, and you're shifting your focus, and you're shifting your awareness. And that's when the mind lets go, the body begins to heal. So obviously, when you are breathing, you're oxygenating your blood, you begin to relax, your muscles begin to let go. And sometimes, especially with guided meditations, you are just encouraging people and helping people to be able to sort of release that tension and that stress through breathing. Yeah,
so sometimes I focus on my heart or breath, or sometimes I focus on my stomach going up and down, and I've actually combined all three at different times, focusing on all three.
Yeah, and you can do the alternate nasal breathing, belly breathing. I'm actually just writing up some information about breathing, because I'm going to be using that in some of my therapies for people. Yeah, there's all sorts of different ways, and everything has a different result, and everything has a different a different sort of benefit. So I am in the process of having something that I can refer to that kind of makes a lot of sense to people who perhaps are new to that concept. But yeah, it's an incredible healing gift, breathing. And then obviously you go down the route of prana energy, chi energy, and obviously again that's kind of goes over a lot of different cultures, it goes over a lot of different traditions. And I think, on a personal note, I'm probably trying to find a universal kind of way of explaining it to myself, you know. I am fascinated by learning about, over history, how all these kind of practices have been adapted. And I really love sort of kind of getting a bit of finding my own truth, taking as much information as I can from things that I read and from history and different people's opinions and different people's ideas and different cultures and traditions, because I love it, and then sort of trying to find my own way of explaining it to myself. And as well, somebody else that I absolutely have been really inspired with over the years is a lady called Dolores Cannon. Have you heard of her?
No.
So Dolores Cannon, she's sadly passed now, but she lived into her 80s. She was a hypnotherapist back in the 1940s, and she originally used to work for the American government. She was American, and she developed her own quantum healing experience through meditation. And in some of her teachings, and in a lot of the books she's written, actually, she would get into people's deep into their subconscious, and she was hearing stories and connecting with the idea that we have this galactic a galactic family, a galactic sort of team of supporters that can explain the sort of seeding of humanity and what souls are, and which souls were sent down here when, for what purpose. And I think that, and the way obviously she's reached this point is by, because hypnotherapy again is helping people to get into a relaxed trance state, and then once they're within that energy, you're connecting more with their subconscious. So from a perspective of healing, you're helping people to sort of get deep into those underlying issues. And Dolores Cannon obviously got so deep that she then was sort of entering realms of new different levels of consciousness. And I think you've just got to spend a bit of time researching into that. And there's a lot of communities out there that do channeling and meditation on a lot of different levels. And yeah, so I'm really drawn to the sort of galactic family side of it. And a lot of people that I've been listening to recently are kind of encouraging people to relax and let this energy healing in that comes to us. So it's really exciting times. It's really exciting times from that perspective. And I really do feel that I'm at the beginning of something that I'm really going to grow and learn from. And yeah, and it's going to expand and grow. I mean, it's so exciting because I don't know exactly which direction I'm taking it yet. But every day brings something new, a new bit of information. So it's just very exciting times.
Yeah, I heard about, this was probably maybe a week or two ago, about a practice, I think it's called Zedong, and it's a form of meditation that the person was saying it's practiced at least by at least 13 alien species practice it, and it's kind of like a oneness type meditation. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. So, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like a oneness meditation.
Okay.
And he says that they generally tend to do it with their eyes open.
Yeah.
You know, but it's kind of interesting to think, well, there's aliens and
Do you know what?
they do meditation.
Yeah, I love that you've said that, actually, because I always meditate with my eyes open. I've always been able to do it. If I'm in a dark room, I discover it's strange because what came first, the chicken or the egg? When I would go to the Buddhist center to meditate, we would do a lot of focus on the breath, and also like focus on, I used to find that my body parts, like my hand, would feel like it was massive and that sort of thing. But I found it really challenging. But when I would go home and I'd be lying in bed at night, I wouldn't have my eyes shut, and I would begin to see all of these lights, light beings, swirls. It was incredible. But I thought, well, what is that? Because I'm not even trying to meditate. I haven't even got my eyes shut. I'm just lying here in bed and I can see these things. And I mentioned it to somebody that I was quite close to at the time. He was my Reiki master, and he was the one who taught me about the pineal gland in your head. And when you've activated it inside your brain, when you've activated it, it does it. It literally is like an inner vision, a third eye, and that's where you see, you can see images almost like inside your mind's eye. So I don't need to meditate with my eyes closed. And I haven't heard of that meditation, no, but I'm definitely I'll look into that, because yeah, I think I think we're very misled. I'm sure that you are aware of that, from what we learn when we're at school, and how we're encouraged to live our lives. It's all very misleading. And what's happening now is those paradigms are being broken down, and people are looking for alternative ways. And we're all beginning to realize that we're connected. Everything is connected. So therefore, if everything is connected and we're not the first beings in the universe, it's not really a scary or ridiculous idea that telepathy and consciousness goes beyond humanity and the third dimension that we exist in. So yeah, it's sometimes difficult to have that conversation with some people, which is understandable. However, as I was saying before, 2022, even the most skeptical of people are changing their opinion about something, or maybe something profound has happened to them that's kind of changed their opinion on things. So yeah, I mean, that sounds great, Jay. I really do think that if you are on a high vibration and you're doing everything for the good of your highest purpose, unconditional love, kindness, sharing, you know, if anybody is guiding us or supporting us, they are, you know, benevolent beings who want us to be better in ourselves. But also we are the ones, you know, I think the human mind, the human brain, we don't realize how powerful we are and all the things we're capable of. And I think once you're obviously, like with anything evolution, we're all stepping in to that higher aspect of ourselves, waking up to that higher aspect of ourselves. And I definitely believe that meditation, as I said before, no matter how new you are to it, it's your way of kind of building that and training yourself. And I've held some meditation circles that are kind of quite advanced, really. And I've had people that will come along and they've never meditated before. And I'm like, that's amazing. Obviously, it's a little bit nerve-wracking because I'm like, right, we are going to do some quite deep stuff here. So I have to give everybody a bit of a, you know, of a sort of layman's explanation to begin with. But the fact that people are showing up, so people have never meditated before and they're coming along to a quantum energy vortex healing meditation session, I'm so pleased. And you know, it must be quite a shock to their systems, because obviously I'm talking about a lot of stuff and it can be quite mind-blowing. But yeah, it's just great. It really just feels different this year in regards to people sort of being more open and accepting and ready to sort of get involved in something that isn't, you know, that isn't sort of mainstream.
You think meditation is something that would be the primary way we would transform the world? Because it's kind of like they said, I read a statistic a couple of years ago that 2.5% of the population meditates, and that's not a very high number. It may be a little bit higher now, but if you got it up to like 40 or 50% or higher, would things start to radically change in the world?
Yeah, so I've been working quite a lot with that recently. So like the polarity, because obviously, you know, in the third dimension, we are polarized. I mean, everything we do has got an opposite to it. And, you know, physics is, once you shift a balance, it all sort of starts falling in the other way. So yeah, I believe that if you want to change, you've got to be the change. And also, I think that there's so many people out there that are kind of setting examples, or like I said before, sharing information. And the souls that are being born now are really, they're not facing the same walls, I think, that has happened over generations building up to this. So there's a much more free flow And I think that meditating isn't, it's so much more inclusive now. There's so many different things you can choose from. And yeah, I really do think that it's going to shift, and once it is shifting, it's going to be like a sort of downhill. I think this year will probably seem really challenging for a lot of people, because that's what happens when when there's an energy shift on, because you see, the higher you raise your vibration as well, the more you're challenged, because that's the point. The point is, with learning and with meditating, it's not to make bad things not happen, it's to help us deal with the negative, diffuse it. And Dolores Cannon, who I was talking about earlier, one of her main messages was, you've got to let go. Okay, there's a lot of people out there who've had really horrible things happen to them, and nobody wants that, but you can't stop it. But no matter how bad it is or it's been, you have to let go. And that's why I love doing the therapy work, because obviously it's helping people to let go. If you have a blockage inside of you and negative things happen to you, they're getting stored and stored and stored. You've got to learn to remove the blockage so that you are a channel. And the more you learn, the quicker you learn the lesson, the quicker it will stop happening. Because what a lot of people do is they have a blockage and something bad happens to them, but because the block is there, they keep experiencing, maybe in a different way with different people or different situations, but it's the same pain, it's the same hurt, it's the same, it kind of creates the same sensation, because they're still holding on. So that's another thing with meditation. It helps you to let go. You've got to find a way of cleansing and clearing, so that when bad things happen, you're no longer holding on to that. That's the wheel of karma. That's the wheel of karma. It's being able to let the wheel flow, rather than being faced with that challenge. It keeps stopping it and keeps blocking it. But yeah, so I keep going off track a bit, sorry. Yeah, definitely. Letting energies just flow through you, and breathing out the negative. Obviously it's quite a process, I think, because that's why you have to be in a community that's supportive and understanding. And that's I'm so pro the future where we all live in a society that is truly beneficial. But I think probably what will happen is there'll be just a divide. Some people will shift up, and some people will just stay on the third dimension, because a lot of people are just happy with the way things are. They don't want they don't want anything different, which is also fine. That's one thing that's been coming up for me a lot lately, is judgment. Even some of the people in my life that I absolutely love can be really judgmental. And being judgmental is part of our programming, because as long as we're judging each other, we, divided we fall. We are encouraged in society to have a divide, whatever that might be. And it's hard to step out of judgment. But in my life recently, I've been sort of finding myself in a lot of situations that are kind of uncomfortable for me, and perhaps without making a judgment, I feel like could be faced with that. But what I find is, even if you're faced with somebody that you're not sure about, if you give them 5 minutes of your time unconditionally to hear their story, or just to share a bit of energy, people are fascinating. And like with anything in the world, as I was talking about the polarity, you have good people and you have bad people. But when you when you don't let that affect your judgment, and you give people the opportunity to sort of just talk, it's incredible. I think that's another thing that we don't really do in society anymore. Like we connect in other ways, but sort of generally in like local environments and things, there's so many divisions that people have sort of cut themselves off, and they stop talking to people. Like their comfort zones now are sort of behind a computer screen or behind a phone, because you don't have to face anyone, you don't have to face people. And it's like, that's what I mean. I'm always like, well, these days I'm a really positive person, so even if I feel really intimidated, I just think, do you know the difference it makes when you just talk and smile at people? It's really hard. You've got to be a really sort of negative person, not be able to smile back, or when someone's just generally just offering you a kind word, to sort of refuse that. And even if you do, that's fine, but the point is we've stopped doing that. We've stopped connecting on like in real life with people, because everything is online and people hide behind technology, really, because it's like a little safety screen. But that's why I love doing the meditation where people come along. And in fact, I've had quite a lot of people who want, there's a lot of things they could do online, but they're like, no, I want somewhere that I can actually go with the real people, and spend some time meditating together. Because I know you can do it online, and I know it works just as well. But it is really nice to sort of have that connection again, because we've definitely lost it. We've definitely lost it through this, this sort of technology upgrade that we've had, like, in recent years,
No, and then especially with COVID, because everything was going online and doing Zoom and things like that, which can be good, but you like to have the personal interaction with people.
That's it. And the whole sort of trolling thing, people feel like they can be mean or say mean things, because it's like, well, it's not real, because they're doing it sort of online. But again, I mean, I really have learned so much about negative situations and negative energy. And as I said before, you can't stop bad people, you can't stop bad things happening. But when you learn how to be in absolute control of your energy and let that pass through you, and that is a lesson, that is a massive thing to learn how to do. You need, a lot of people will need the full sort of techniques, and also you've got to build up self-esteem, you've got to build your connection, you've got to feel so good about yourself that that people can't take that. You're not giving your power away to people anymore. And again, that's an incredible lesson. And it comes from the small, quiet spaces of loneliness. Loneliness is actually a really important journey and lesson. I don't think, and I'm sure I can safely say this, until you have been truly alone and felt true loneliness and explored what is going on inside of that emotion, I don't think you will ever be able to be a completely independent being, because that's the lesson. You have to learn to be completely alone, to be able to have functional relationships. And it's fascinating, because I've been through a lot of opportunities in my life where I've had that loneliness, and because of meditation, because of what it's taught me, no matter how you're feeling, when you dive deep into the purpose and the lesson and the meaning of your emotions, whatever they might be, through meditation you can really do that, and you really can come out, and you can see the benefits in everything that happens, even the negative emotions, even the sadness, and from there you grow. And when you start growing, you can then start truly sharing, because we are energy beings, And what happens with energy beings is we're constantly feeding off each other. I want to feel loved, I want to feel happy, I need you, I want you, you know, it's all very distracting. However, it's something that we can feed ourselves. And when we learn how to nourish ourselves on an energy level, we stop trying to get it from someone else or something else or somewhere else. And we are able to be healers because we're healed. And that's something that you never stop doing either, because I know some incredible healers, some incredible psychics who are brilliant, but they've still got these blockages, like we all do. You could, you know, I think there's never any end to self-mastery. It goes on and on and on and on and gets bigger and better. And yeah, so, you know, it's kind of reaching that point in your life where you accept everything that happens to you. And if you do come across a challenge, it's like, right, what is this here for? And I think that if we lived in a society where everybody was at that point, we'd all be a lot more supportive, you know, we'd all be a lot more connected. And I definitely do see that coming. I definitely do see that coming.
Well, I think with meditation too, it's the whole thing is about being alone with yourself, you know, because you cut off all the distractions out here and you're by yourself, and learning to just really enjoy being with yourself. But then when you go out there with other people, you actually enjoy interacting with other people more because they're sort of in that moment, you know.
Yes, definitely. And I've had some people that will come along to meditation groups or whatever you want to call them, really, and they don't realize that it's their journey. So they might come along expecting some sort of like show, and if they don't get where they want to be, it's quite easy to sort of I don't know, it's, I'm not so, they don't blame it on somebody else, but what actually we do, none of us really take control of our, you know, we're always looking for a reason to why we feel the way we feel. But there's a brilliant word, equanimity, and that is, to me, that is meditation. It's not judging yourself, it's not judging anyone else, it's finding that inner balance. It reminds you to, if you feel any level of resistance when you're meditating, it's yourself trying to tell you something. And be observant, listen to that, you know. And if it's a physical sensation, be aware of body mapping. So whereabouts in my body is this, and what energy is it connected to, which part of my energy field is it connected to. And you know, you can, through my therapy work, if I spend time with somebody one-on-one, it's incredible, because you can see somebody's whole entire life lesson mapped out in their physical body and their energy field, through pains, you know, through traumas, and all the keys are within us. Because you can connect every energy field, every organ, every past life trauma. It's all in there. And I think that's another thing I really want to focus on moving forward, is helping people with like past life regressions and things like that through hypnotherapy, and Akashic record, that sort of thing. When people are truly ready to sort of find that in themselves, there's some brilliant you know, there's some brilliant depths they can go to sort of get all these answers. And you know, it is all really meditation, because it's all inside of there, and it's connecting to your intuition, having a bit more sort of faith in yourself. And yeah, I find the whole thing fascinating. Like, I love helping people, but I also love kind of unraveling, you know, all the stories and all the clues, and like in myself as well, you know. I love that side to sort of exploration, you know, of the self. And whatever problems you've got in your life right now, like how they manifest, where have they come from, because well, that's it, our lives are journeys, and we're all very, very special, magical beings that are on this incredible journey. And and that's why I my heart always goes out to people that really are lost. However, I believe in people, and I believe that even the darkest of times, a door will open, and when people are ready for it, they will get where they need to be. That's why this whole sort of culture of comparison, or what's the word for it, like people, like there's a certain aspect to like influencers on Instagram and everything, and those sort of individuals who always feel as if they're not good enough, or they're like comparing, whether it be like, it might be money, it might be looks. The beauty of people is within, and helping people to sort of connect with that and find that is kind of another reason why I'm doing sort of all of this, helping people that feel really lost and alone to find themselves. Because you're your greatest asset, you're your greatest friend, you're your greatest relationship that you should ever have should be with yourself. And I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah, I think with like understanding that people are all on their own journey, and that can sort of help with letting go of judgments too, because you understand, well, that's where they are at this moment, allowing them to be at that moment, and just releasing all the judgments, because that's part of like mindfulness, but then taking it into your whole life. And like, even when other people say judgmental things about others, you don't participate, and maybe you try to give a word that's encouraging or gives more empathy or understanding in the situation.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to be really patient with people who are still in that judgmental vibe, because they've obviously just got a bit further to go. And we're talking about like years and years of really, really heavy conditioning and programming. We've all been through it. It's like layers of an onion. You've got to keep peeling and peeling and peeling and peeling. And like I was saying before, you'll never stop peeling those layers back, really. There's always somewhere deeper you can go. But yeah, I just patience, that's a massive thing for me at the moment. Not so much with other people, like I need to be more patient about my journey and my life, because I'll get an idea in my head and then I'll punish myself if, like I haven't met a deadline, or this week I'm back behind, or I want to be doing all of this now. Being patient, everything will manifest at the right time. And also looking how far you've come already. If you're at that stage in your life, you can look back and say, oh wow, the last 5 years I've done this and this, and rather than sort of looking forward and saying, oh, I haven't done everything I wanted to do. Look back and sort of see the things you have done.
Yeah, I think sometimes it'd be like you get happy with where you are and where you've come from. You just wish you would have gotten there a lot sooner.
Yeah, but I really do believe in divine timing, and that's another thing that I'm going to start developing for one of my meditations is timeline setting, intention setting, and manifestation, to help people who, because you see, this is another quite in-depth conversation actually, and I'm just a little bit aware of time because I've got to go out at 9 o'clock. We'd maybe do a part 2 if you wanted to, because I haven't even done the heart activation meditation yet. Did you want to do a part 2?
Yeah, that's fine.
We could set another day. Yeah, because I'll write a list of things that I could, because that's the other thing, I could talk for hours about this subject. But yes, a timeline manifestation. So again, it's kind of quite an in-depth conversation, but it's a bit like that sort of closing doors moment. You know, there's so many aspects of ourselves and the choices that we make, all happening all at the same time. So when you do something like an intention setting or a timeline manifestation, you are drawing in to this particular moment, the now moment in your life, what it is that you really, the timeline that is best for you. So one of my affirmations is, I'm not gonna be able to remember it now because I do them all in my head, I forget, but it's along the lines of I am on in the exact timeline that is right for me right now. And obviously, as I say, that's kind of a bit more of an in-depth topic really, but you can do a meditation where you connect with that aspect of yourself in that dimension to draw in that perfect timeline for you, that what it is that you want specifically, you know, in that moment. And again, that's kind of quite a quantum subject really to sort of go into, but yeah, that's it. I love meditating, and I really love helping people to meditate, and it can be as deep or as, you know, not I think all meditation is deep, but it's just kind of, it's a journey, isn't it, you know? And I can remember thinking that I'd never get into a routine with meditating, and now sometimes that's all I seem to do. Because even when you're doing research, and you do writing, don't you? You write things, and you're meditating, you're learning, you're expanding, you're truly getting into the grips of things, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So did you want to say anything before we close out, and we'll have a part 2?
Yeah, I'll do you a demo of the heart activation meditation, because it's a 10-minute meditation. It's focused on the heart, obviously, and it also, when you reconnect your energy centers, you can then open your heart, and when you focus on gratitude is an incredible healing energy, and I visualize it as a white crystalline light because that's protective, it's nurturing, it's nourishing, it's cleansing. It clears out darkness from your energy field, it bonds you with the earth, and then you can send it out to the world, to people who need it. And it's a 10-minute meditation. It's really good for your body, mind, soul, and it's so easy to do. And you can do it anywhere, and you can do it anytime, because you don't, you know, it's an awareness thing. So although I do guide through it, when you do it regularly, you can just switch from your mind to your heart with your breath, and then you open the gratitude and you send it out. It's so easy and it's so nice. And yeah, that's what I'll give you a demo of next time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for being on. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah. And you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm sorry I've got to go out, but yeah, we'll do a part 2 definitely.
Okay.